Hey traders, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about Vinco Ventures, ticker symbol BBIG. Now, there's a few things I want to discuss in this video. First off, I want to just go over what happened in the market as a whole today, specifically referring to the Fed and interest rates and how that's going to affect BBIG moving forward. After that, we're going to talk about gamma squeeze potential in the stock with a lot of out of the money calls expiring this Friday. And finally, as always, we're going to be breaking down the charts, taking a look at key levels, key indicators, and more so we know how to best play the stock moving forward. Without any further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay, so starting off generally with what's been happening in the market, we've seen that the past few days have been pretty rough, with a lot of people anticipating or speculating that the Fed was going to come out with their announcement today and increase interest rates. However, they came out with the announcement, and I honestly have to say it's a lot better than what I was expecting and what probably most people were expecting. Specifically, taking a look at the good news, we see that the central bank held the target range for its benchmark interest rate policy unchanged at 0 to 0.25%, where it's been since the coronavirus began, and also pledged to continue asset purchases at $120 billion monthly until substantial further progress has been made on employment and inflation. All of that is very good news. It means that nothing is changing. Specifically, the interest rates short term are going to remain extremely low. There was just one part of drawback that came from this announcement, and that was that the Federal Reserve officials held interest rates near zero currently, but signaled that they expect two increases by the end of 2023. So obviously, interest rates increasing, not good for the market. However, we all knew that, this would have to come eventually. Now we just have a more updated timeline. And ultimately, I think that long term, the market may react to it, but short term, things look just as good as ever. Taking a look at how the market as a whole responded to all of this, we've seen that the last few days we've been in a little bit of a downtrend with a major SPY sell off coming this afternoon right before the announcement. And it took a second for people to digest the announcement. But once that happened, look at this beautiful move to the upside. We can see that people are indeed responding positively to this move and that volume is flowing back into the market. That's going to be a great thing for BBIG, especially because it is currently setting up for a potential gamma squeeze. And if the volume is there, well, then it could definitely happen. So, taking a look at the gamma squeeze potential, first off, we're just going to break down what a gamma squeeze is, how it happens. So it starts with investors making assumptions about a particular stock's price. Specifically, they're going to assume that the stock is going to rise in price. And when they do so, they're going to end up buying short dated call options in the stock on a large scale. So the call options value is going to increase when the underlying stock it's associated with increases in value. Meanwhile, this puts the institutional investors or the market makers or the big banks selling the options into a short position to counterbalance those call options. So, that's all fine and dandy if the options don't work out. But the problem happens when those options actually start to multiply or when the stock price goes up tremendously. As we can see here, if this pattern continues with investors sinking more money to call options, or if the stock price increases, it can force institutional investors or big banks to buy more shares of the stock. And that is a necessary move by these market makers in order to hedge against the short position they created from selling those call options in the first place. So the gamma squeeze happens when the underlying stock's price begins to go up very quickly within a short period of time. As more money flows into call options from investors, it forces more buying activity from big banks and market makers, which can lead to higher stock prices. And essentially, right now, BBIG has a perfect setup for a potential gamma squeeze. Specifically, if we look at call options expiring this Friday with the $5 strike price, we can see an open interest of 43,000 contracts. That is a major amount because if they expired in the money and were to be exercised, I mean, that's 4.3 million shares that currently the big banks and institutional investors are short against. And, normally 4.3 million shares, depending on the stock, might not be a big deal. However, keep in mind with BBIG, it is an extremely small public float of 19.85 million. So that 4.3 million shares that could essentially be exercised if those calls were expired into the money ultimately would make up about a quarter of the float, it could send this stock absolutely flying. So now let's take a look at the charts and what it would take for BBIG to get there. As you guys can see, I mean, we've had a rough few days along with the market. And today, actually, off of some strong buy alerts from a lot of notorious traders, we saw the stock push towards a breakout level. However, without the volume there, with a lot of people still kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for the Fed announcement, this movement was not able to sustain itself. Instead, we traded to the downside. Eventually, once the market bounced back, BBIG bounced back as well. However, pretty weak into close, currently sitting under the VWAP, the volume weighted average price, ultimately meaning that it is bearish heading into tomorrow's trading session. However, with that being said, what does it take in order for this to gamma squeeze? Well, first things first, we need to see that the volume flows back into the market tomorrow. Now that all the Fed talks are out of the way, we can take a look at volume. We need to see this volume pick up back to at least, where we were last Wednesday when we made that big move up at the 50 million range. Today, extremely low volume on the stock, and the price action was obviously indicative of this at 13 million shares. But like I said, if that volume does pick up, that's going to be a major indicator that we could push forward and get ourselves into squeeze range. Another thing to keep in mind is just we need to expect clean price action. Okay. Honestly, it won't take all that much in order for BBIG to get to $5 if the volume is there. First thing we need to do is cross over 433. That is the 9-day EMA. If we can break over that, that is going to bring in some additional volume into the stock, and that should give us another test of 450. If we break 450 for the second time and hold it cleanly, then there is no doubt in my mind we're going to test this next range of 485 to $5, which is going to put us very, very close to gamma squeeze territory. And we could start to see a lot of big banks and institutional investors start to cover their positions, ultimately leading to a gamma squeeze. Taking a look at other indicators on the chart, however, we do see that things are still looking very, very good for BBIG, sitting above all of my favorite moving averages with the 21-day EMA at 388, the 50-day moving average at 299, and the 200-day moving average at 239. So obviously the stock still looks bullish in short term, long term, and intermediate term. All great news. Also, just continuing to update on the RSI, we continue to consolidate at this neutral level. This is going to make it a lot easier for us to make that next leg upwards once that volume returns to the stock. So aside from that, just taking a look at key levels heading into tomorrow. Starting on the support side, we do have major support at $4. It's been holding up beautifully all week long. However, if we do break below that, we also do have volume at 360 and 330. Those are beautiful areas to load dips if you are interested in opening a position or adding to your position. And by adding at these dips, you are minimizing your risk and maximizing your upside on this trade. So definitely keep that in mind. But now let's take a look at the upside. We discussed this already. 420 first level. If we do break above that, which we are trending above that right now in after hours, expect a retest of this 9 EMA. And if the volume comes in there, then like I said, all it takes is a clean break over 450, and then we could find ourselves testing $5. And if that gamma squeeze does happen, well, then we can start to push through these resistance levels in the $5. There's quite a few of them. However, if we can push over them and get to the 605 test and break above that, then this stock or then this chart starts to really open up on the bullish side. There's room to 668 after that. After that room, all the way to 750. So things could start to look very, very exciting. All we need to do is get that $5 test sometime in the next 2 trading days. It's something I'm definitely excited about, but let me know what you think is going to happen. Do you think that a gamma squeeze is possible at this point? Very interested to hear your guys' feedback. Aside from that, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel and have a great rest of your night.